So like and subscribe. So remember to do that, like and subscribe, because you have my professional reassurance that your life is going to be better if you do it. Guaranteed. Yep, everything's going to be good. Like and subscribe. But you got to do it. To do it, go do it. So like and subscribe. Like and subscribe this. Like and subscribe. Like and subscribe it. Like and subscribe. Anti-Semites love to say that the Jews gave the world communism, as if Karl Marx personally crawled out of the Pale of Settlement and infected Europe with dialectical materialism. This is historically illiterate, or, to put it in more plain speak, stupid. Marx didn't invent socialism. He didn't even really invent Marxism. He was the latest echo in a long European conversation, one that started centuries before he was born. The real origin of socialist thought. See, communism didn't start in a shtetl. It started in France. Henry de Saint-Simon, 1760 to 1825, proposed a state control of production and the coordination of labor for the common good. He also coined the term socialism. His disciples, Charles Fourier and Robert Owen, expanded on his ideas, creating early models of cooperative economics and utopian communities long before Marx published a word. Europe was already pregnant with socialism long before Marx came along to name the baby. Socialism was before Marx. The roots go back even further. Plato's Republic envisioned a communal society where property and family were abolished among the guardian class. Thomas More's Utopia, published in 1516, described a proto-socialist state. Centuries before Marx was even old enough to decide not to shave. Quakers and the utopian groups in the 18th and 19th centuries tried communal living long before the Communist Manifesto in 1848. Marx wasn't a prophet. He wasn't even a market forecaster. He was a librarian who rearranged old books and claimed the copyright. Europe wanted socialism long before the Jews got blamed for it. The French Revolution didn't happen in a vacuum. The intellectual soil was soaked with radical egalitarian thought. Rousseau's Social Contract, Robespierre's speeches, and Babieuf's Conspiracy of Equals in 1796 all anticipated socialist collectivist ideals. By the 1840s, socialism was already fashionable and mainstream among European intellectuals. Marx simply grafted German philosophy from Hegel onto French utopian socialism and called it science. So if you hear a professor, 20-something, professional student, or even podcaster speak like Marx forced Europe into communism, go ahead and speak up, or leave a comment and tell him he's wrong. Europe was already halfway there. Marx just gave it a logo. The fire was already burning, even without a single Jew in sight. Revolutionary socialism was thriving. Russia's own radicals, Herzen, Chernysheevsky, and Bakunin, were already preaching abolition of property and violent revolution before the Bolsheviks existed. These men were the intellectual forerunners of Lenin, and none were Jewish. The ideology was homegrown, born of serfdom, repression, and resentment towards the czarist elite. Jews didn't build the fire. Europe was drenched in gasoline already. Blaming Jews for communism is the oldest political trick in the book. Find a minority that excels in reading, teaching, and organizing. Watch them succeed where you failed, then call their competence conspiracy. When communism turned murderous, people did what people always do: burned its scapegoats and declared themselves the victims. Europe dreamt up socialism, built the guillotines, lit the pyres, and then pointed at the Jews and said, "You did this." The irony: today the same people who whine about Jewish Bolshevism are often the ones idolizing authoritarian nationalism, the very disease that communism was reacting against. For over a century, conspiracy theorists have pushed the idea of Jewish Bolshevism, the notion that Jews masterminded and controlled the Russian Revolution. The reality is less dramatic and far more revealing. Bolshevism was never Jewish. It was literate and urban. The myth survives because anti-Semitism loves a scapegoat. The numbers kill it dead. The Jews of the Russian Empire. In 1897, Jews made up about 4 to 5% of the Russian Empire's population. Concentrated mostly in the Pale of Settlement, they were a small minority in a vast peasant empire. But one key factor set them apart: literacy, the literacy gap. In 1897, census shows that Jewish male literacy was dramatically 70 versus 25%, higher than the Russian average. Even Jewish women who lagged behind men read and wrote at rates well above peasant women and men alike. Joe Perlman's reanalysis of the 1897 census affirms the gap. Jewish literacy rates for men were double or triple those of surrounding peasants. In some towns, Jewish boys were learning Hebrew, Russian, and arithmetic, while nearby villages couldn't even read a newspaper. The gap explains why Jews were visible in professions that required reading, and why they appeared in revolutionary movements that depended on pamphlets, newspapers, and manifestos. Overrepresentation, skill versus conspiracy. By the late 19th century, Jews were conspicuously present in medicine, law, publishing, and education. In many fields, they accounted for 10 to 15% of practitioners, far above their share of the population. This visibility later fueled paranoid myths, most infamously under Stalin. In the early 1950s, the so-called doctor's plot accused many Jewish physicians of conspiring to poison Soviet leaders. It was not because such a conspiracy existed, but precisely because Jews had become so visible in medicine. Stalin's anti-Semitism found a ready-made scapegoat. The lesson is simple: Jews were overrepresented in skills, not in plots. The Bolshevik Party in context. Yes, Jews were present in Bolshevik ranks, but they were never a majority, never dominant, and always surrounded by Russians and other nationalities. Trotsky was famous, but Stalin a Georgian, Lenin Russian, Dzerzhinsky was Polish, Mikoyan was Armenian, and others made Bolshevism a multinational project. If Jews owned Bolshevism at 5 to 10%, then by the same math, Georgians owned the USSR through Stalin. It's a bad argument built on cherry picking. Georgians, Stalin, Orджоникидзе, and Beria, Mikoyan, Shaumian, and others at the highest levels. If Jews made Bolshevism Jewish, then by the same logic, the terror police were Latvian and the party elite were Georgian Armenian. The myth collapses under its own absurdity. Why Jews were visible? Answer simple: selection bias. Revolutionary parties recruited the literate, urban, and politically engaged. Jews happened to fill that bill better than most of the empire's peasants. They were visible because they could read, write, and organize. Illiteracy saw literacy and called it conspiracy. Conclusion: myth versus history. Bolshevism was not Jewish, any more than it was Latvian or Georgian. It was a violent response to a collapsing empire, built by whoever had the skills and nerve to seize the moment. Blaming Jews for Bolshevism is like blaming Latvians for the Cheka. It reveals nothing about history and everything about prejudice. So like and subscribe. So remember to do that, like and subscribe, because you have my professional reassurance that your life is going to be better if you do it. Guaranteed. Yep, everything's going to be good. Like and subscribe. But you got to do it. To do it, go do it. So like and subscribe. Like and subscribe this. Like and subscribe. Like and subscribe it. Like and subscribe.